Om Neelambuja Shyamal Komalangam Sita Samaropita Vamabhagam Panavu Maha Sayaka Charu Chapam Namami Ramam Raghuvanshanatham. Irradiations Lord Rama, whose complexion is like a blue lotus, very tender and delightful in appearance. Sita is seated on his left side, carrying a powerful bow and arrow in his hands. Shri Ramcharitmanas in Ayodhya Kanda, and we are moving towards Doha number 17. The context of this stage is whole Ayodhya is celebrating Rama's coronation. Everywhere people are joyous. But when Manthara heard all this, it's as if a thorn entered her heart. And she knocked against auspicious things they were carrying in their baskets, showed her terrible annoyance, and came to Kaikeyi. Manthara was the servant, maid servant of Kaikeyi. And that's the context now. She is trying to persuade Kaikeyi, influence upon her to understand that it is not a joyous celebration. That what is going to happen is a curse, leading Kaikeyi to become a servant, maid servant of Kaushalya, and leading Bharata to become servant of Rama. And that's a terrible thing. This is storyline. Philosophical understanding. All this now that is happening is a profound spiritual movement, profoundly positive. But description is given from the point of view of cultured mass mentality, not uncultured, cultured. Try to understand, mind has various stages. First stage of the mind called mudha, very dull wit. Next stage of mind is called kshipta, so distracted you can't get anything done out of it. Next stage is vikshipta. Vikshipta brings certain stability. But in this level, you do not cure your trouble. Hide it. Whether it is a physical trouble, mental trouble, instead of curing the disease, you just hide it. Suppress the symptoms. I'm using much allegorical language. So, seen from vikshipta state of mind, all that is happening is very negative. Vikshipta state of mind wants to see everyone happy in the world. But happy means just hopping. how much money you have. This is the definition of happiness. How are your near and dear ones? And where are they spread out, your dear ones? Some are in Alaska, some in New Zealand. Have you talked to them? I say, oh yes, I daily talk to them. Oh, what a wonderful life. But now suddenly someone comes that I want to attain enlightenment. I want to get away from Maya. Then all those who had that type of mind, a concept of happiness, look at the person, finds the person so terrible, miserable, that he cannot be comfortable with wonderful prospect given by the world. Figure that out. Why? Why should a person go after Vedanta? When all happiness comes in the world of time and space. And here, the very time and space are just thrown away. So what will you do? But Uttam state of mind, higher state of mind, described as ekagra, or shanta state, peaceful state, sattvic state. That state of mind realizes that behind what is happening, there is the hand of a divine source. It is goddess Saraswati, invoked by gods, who is playing the role through mantra, maid servant. So whatever maid servant is now doing, she is channeling goddess Saraswati. So if you have higher state of mind, how will you consider mantra ugly or negative? And similarly, Kaikeyi is being channeled by goddess Saraswati. To put it more precisely, mantra is prakriti, nature. Nature in every individual. That nature flows according to your karmas, according to your knowledge. When we say nature flows, it creates changes in your nervous system, creates changes even in your bones, it creates changes in your concepts, in your understanding, flow of nature. As you move positive, the nature flows in a profound way. You move negatively, the nature becomes mixed up, flows but carries some garbage with it. The flow becomes restrictive. Mantra's role is that type of role. Prakriti. And Kaikeyi's role is vichar shakti. Vichar, inquiry, reflection. Mind may be very joyous, but turn to your intellect. Awaken your vichar shakti, reflection. Have an evaluation, overview. Is it really your ideal state? Or you have to do something to attain the ideal state. And in this particular situation, All are rejoicing. Rama is the king, Rama is the king. Now the question starts, reflection, is it really? Bharata and Shatrughna are away. They don't even know. Kaikeyi has not been informed. In other words, it is not a state of integration. And yet you are celebrating, I have attained enlightenment, I have attained enlightenment. While you don't have bhakti in you, nor you have karma in you. Being happy is good, but not that type of happiness. Too much of that. So therefore, moving away from that type of joyousness based on affirmation. When we study Vedanta, the role of affirmation, which means you don't wait until you attain it. You start asserting that I am not the body, I am not the mind, I am Brahman. And when in that state, suddenly your mind becomes so happy, I have attained enlightenment, nothing more to do. Then it is not the real attainment, it becomes an obstacle. That stage is brought out here in this story. All are happy, but that's not real. Rama has not performed his role of destroying ignorance. Bharata has not performed his role of developing mature devotion, bhakti. All brothers have not yet performed their functions. 4 aspects of your personality. Jnana is Rama. Dhyana, meditative process, is Lakshmana. Bhakti is Bharata. Karma yoga, karma that purifies your heart, that's Shatrughna. All these 4, out of these 4, jnana and dhyana, they match together. They always stay together. As your mind begins to relax, concentrate, jnana begins to shine through it. So jnana and dhyana are together. Bhakti and karma are together. As your karmas purify anger, hate, etc., the impurities move away by your good karmas. Karma turning to karma yoga begins to purify your mala, gross impurities. As it happens, love in your heart emerges out of delusion. When the love is not suppressed by delusion, it is called moha. And moha appears very joyous. And vikshipta state of mind becomes highly fascinated by moha. But behind that moha, there is terrible cruelty. And all people, masses, experience it. You never know who is really your dear one. There comes a situation, every dear one is afraid of the dear one. The worst fear comes from your dear source. Figure that out. So therefore, keeping this in view, now how story starts. Allowing bhakti, devotion, to emerge out of moha. Love emerging out of deluded attachment. Moha state is more focused on how to secure your secure your relations. If you love someone, how to put the someone in such a way he cannot go anywhere. No money to take trips. Stay with him. I'm joking. This is the story of the swan that comes in the midst of some creatures. And those creatures ask the swan to stay with them. And they influence the swan, they loved the swan so much that they should allow the wings to be taken away. I'm not going into that story, but this is a gross way of describing the role of moha. And I have the worst way of describing moha. People who non-vegetarian, I'm not going against all of the the non-vegetarian project is the animal that you are eating. You must feed the animal in a more nourishing way. He will sing songs because he will have more nutrition. Figure that out. This moha-based movement. And it's a constant challenge for the soul not to become stuck with moha, but go on working to dissolve moha. And thereby you experience real joy in your life. But moha-based happiness is just like you have found a very costly pearl and put it in your box. The only time you become very happy when some guest comes and will show it. All other time we are only concerned that it is safe. Anybody going there, look, is that safe? So I will not detail too much on that. Coming back to the Ramayana, Bhanu Kabala Kulapo Shanihara Binu Jalajari Karai Soi Chara Jari Tumhari Yah Savati Ukhari Rundhahu Kari Upau Bar Bari. Manthara is talking to Kaikeyi and trying to persuade her to do something to upset this whole scene. Instead of Rama being king, her own son Bharata should be the king. And Rama should go into the forest having nothing, just sannyasi clothes, saintly clothes, and face the forest life. For 14 years. The idea is by 14 years, people will forget about Rama and Bharata's rulership will become established. This is apparently. Kaikeyi was talking about Rama. In the beginning, this Rama is a very lovable personality. Why are you talking against Rama? Bhanu Kamal Kulapo Shanihara. Now Manthara is saying, same sun that allows a lotus to blossom And if the water is not there, the sun destroys that lotus. So Rama may have wonderful qualities, but he is acting like the sun. So we have to be careful. Jari tumhari chaha savati ukhari, rundhahu kari upau varvari. Kaushalya is jealous of you, and she is plotting to root you out. Before she succeeds, try to undo her plot. तुम्हि न सोच सुहाग बल निज बस जानहु राउ मन मलिन मुह मीठ नृपु राउर सरल सुभाव. And you have a false understanding that King Dasharatha loves you very much. And don't realize where is his love. You think that the king is under your control. But understand, the mind of the king is dirty, mala. But his mouth is very sweet. He is sweet in his palabras, in his words, but not in his intentions. You, on the other hand, you are straightforward. You don't know how to practice trickery. Not cookery, trickery. Chatur Gambhir Rama Mahatari. All this that is being described is how Vikshipta state of mind views a spiritual project. Everything looks ugly. Chatur Gambhir Rama Mahatari, Bichupai Nij Baat Samari. Rama's mother Kaushalya is not your loving friend. She is very clever like a fox. And very profoundly clever. She has found the right occasion. And she has done what is to fulfill her cherished desire. First she manipulated to send Bharata to Nanihal. Bharata to Afghanistan, that's in old time, Kaikadesh. So along with Bharata, Shatrugna has also gone. So you must remember, the Bharata and Shatrugna are away. And what Kaikeyi is saying that Kaushalya has manipulated that, creating a whole story that first she waited to Bharata and Shatrugna to go away, etc., etc. से वहीं सकल सवती मोहिनी के गर्भित भरत मातु बल पी के. What Kausalya thinks, that all the co-wives of King Dashratha they will become my maid servant. They will be the servants. If Rama became the ruler, सालु तुम्हार कौशली माई कपट चतुर नहीं होई जनाई. Kaushalya is extremely inimical towards you, because she is terribly afraid how king shows so much love for Kaikeyi, and that Kaushalya is trying to manipulate so that king becomes completely under her control. You are unable to understand the foxy nature of Kaushalya. Therefore, you think she is a very loving woman. राजहि तुम पर प्रेम विषेखी सवती सुभाव सकहि नहीं देखी. King's love for you is restricted by Kaushalya, and you are unable to see the trap Kaushalya has created. It's called Sautiyada, co-wives trickery. रचि प्रपंच भूपहि अपनाई राम तिलक हित लगन धराई. She has created a deceptive plot and made the king very much lovable for her, taken the king's love from you and taken towards herself. And she has persuaded the king to make Rama king, so that Kaikeyi will become a maid servant, Bharata will become a servant. All the love they have shown so far will be only a show appearance. The real intention, according to what Manthara is presenting, the real intention is not a loving relationship, but it is a slavery relationship. The term prapanch is important. Prapanch is a tricky plot. Panch refers to 5 factors: Sat, Chit, Ananda, name and form. Satchidananda is like a screen names and forms are projections of the mind. When you are watching a show, it is prapanch. 5 things are mixed up and you are unable to separate it. The all world experience is prapanch. Deep down, your real nature is Sat Chit Ananda. That again is one and the same, but described more elaborately in 3 stages. Existence, knowledge, bliss. Everyone wants to exist. Everyone wants to know everything. Everyone wants to be happy. The urge to exist, to know, to be happy. Why is that urge in the soul? Because in reality the soul is Sat Chit Ananda. That's its real nature. But mind has created illusions of names and forms. And in a state of ignorance, soul has become trapped by a blend of 5. 5 factors have created khichdi. And the soul likes the khichdi. Another term is used, shadayantra. Whenever there is some trouble, people talk about this is a shadayantra, a conspiracy. That relates to 6 points. Same prapanch, elaborated. What are 6 points? First prapanch, ill-conceived plot. Next one is called maya, adopting deception. Next point is bhaya. Even though there is no reason to be afraid, the plot creates illusory fear. Next is Brahm, deluded vision. You are seeing things correctly, but someone comes, no, you are not seeing well, look at this, put out this glass. I say, oh, he's a good person, so let me put the glass. I'm joking, but that's called Brahm. You are not having your own vision. Arati. Somehow, what is good for you, you have suddenly lost taste for it. A plot that has presented the idea, the goal you are after is a source of pain. And next is uchchatan. Therefore, you don't want to look at it. Complete indifference. These 6 points enter in every form of conspiracy. यह कुल उचित राम कहूँ टीका सबहि सोहाई मोहि सुठिनी का. Mantra is giving all these arguments to Kaikeyi. Rama should be king. This is perfectly normal. And everybody likes it. I like it as well. Mantra is saying, this is called the foxy way of talking. आगिली बात समुझी डरु मोही देव दैव फिर सो फलु ओही. But when I think of what will happen in future, I'm terribly afraid. And what I'm afraid of, let that happen to Kaushalya, not to you. You have to figure that out. In other words, what will happen? Kaushalya will become your ruler. You will be just a slave. Your son will be just a slave. Let it not happen that way. Let it be other way around. You should be the master. Rachi pachi kotika kutilpan kinhasi kapata prabodh kahisi katha shata savatike jahi vidhi baadha virodh. Rachi pachi kotik kutilpan. Not 50 or 60 points, million points. Billion points she brought out to convince Kaikeyi that what is happening is source of trouble for her and for her son. And she told stories of co-wives, how they, by their wiles and by their jealousies, create such trouble. Not one story, hundreds of stories. Now, some Ramayanas bring out some of those stories. So at this stage, you go on hearing story after story. भावी बस प्रतीति उर आई पूछ रानी पुनि सपथ देवाई. But bhavi bas, as it has to happen in divine plan, Rama has to go to the forest. Therefore, Kaikeyi's mind now began to come under the sway of Manthara's advice. And she asked Manthara for more clarity. का पूछहु तुम अबहु न जाना निज हित अनहित पशु पहचाना. And Manthara says, what are you asking me? Even an animal knows what is good and what is bad. And you are sinking to a level below animals. भयउ पाखु दिन सजत समाजु तुम पाई सुधि मोहि सन आजु. Look, 15 days have gone on, this type of celebration going on. And you have received the news Rama is becoming king today. When you try to convince people to do the thing you want them to do, you create a whole causation. Imaginary causation. Because, see how in the morning he saw you and he went that way. He didn't even say hello to you. So look, understand, things are not same. खाइए पहरिए राज तुम्हारे सत्य कहें नहीं दोष हमारे. I am sustained by you. I eat, wear clothes because of you. So therefore, if I tell you the truth for your own good, I'm not at fault. जो असत्य कछु कहब बनाई, तो विधि देई हमहि सजाई. If I am saying anything false, let Creator give me punishment for it. So having created that type of bhumika setting, now coming to the point, she says, Rama hi tilak kali jaun bhayayu, tum kaha vipati biju badhidai bhayayu. If tomorrow Rama became the king, then remember, you have been trapped. Brahma, the creator, has sown a seed of terrible misery. Rek khachai kahau bal bhaki, bhamini bhayu dudha kai maki. I am saying this firmly by drawing a line. It's the village style of proving the point. You're not just saying it palavras, you're drawing it. You have become a flea in a cup of milk. So you are going to be cast out. Jau sut rahit karahu sevakai, to ghar rahu na an upai. This is the predicament that you are going into. Along with your son, both of you have to become servant of Rama and Mother Kaushalya. There is no other way. Kadru binatahi deen dukh tumhi kaushilya dev bharatu bandigrah se yahi lakhnu ram ke nev. Just as Kadru gave lot of misery to Binata, similarly Kaushalya is going to give you lot of misery. Bharata will be as if in a prison. Rama and Lakshmana, they will be the ruler. The story of Kadru Binati is a very big story in the Mahabharata. But I will give you just a few points. Well, the story is just allegorical story of mind playing two roles. One role of the mind is snakes, lot of vrittis, thought waves. Another eater of vrittis, Garuda. Kadru was the mother of thousands of snakes. And Vinata was the mother of two, Garuda and Aruna. In the storyline, Sage Kashyapa married two daughters of Prajapati Daksha. One is Vinata, comes from Vinati, Vinita, humble spirit, which is Sattvic. And the other one is Kadru. Ka is action, but Dhru is spoiling the action, turning your activity into a wrong direction. So, putting it very essential way, I'm presenting this story. Kadru became the mother. She received the boon from Kashyapa, her own husband, who is a powerful personality, that she may have thousands of sons, and the sons relating to snakes, nagas. But Vinata, she asked for only 2 sons who could be far greater than her thousands and thousands of sons. And it was granted. In course of time, Kadru had thousands of snakes, all crawling around and shining with different types of strengths. These are vrittis of the mind, thought waves. They're all described like snakes. The very Kundalini Shakti is a snake. Among those snakes comes Sheshanag, and they are positive ones. And in a storyline, Vinata, seeing so many snakes and being enjoyed by her sister, she became a little impatient. She had given birth of 2 eggs. And the eggs take a lot of time to hatch. She became a little impatient with 1 egg, and she cracked it. Therefore, from there emerged a powerful spirit with a reddish splendor. That's the splendor you see when the sun comes. That known as Aruna. The reddish hue in the morning dawn is called Aruna. In a storyline, he becomes the chariot driver of sun god. He can't walk himself because he's a little impaired. So he just drives the chariot. That Aruna emerging out of the egg because of the impatience of the mother Vinata curses the mother that you will become a slave to Kadru and her sons. And that's what happens. It so happens that Kadru and Vinata, they were once looking at a beautiful horse. A mystic horse emerged out of the churning of the ocean called Uchaya Shava. It's all snowy white. And they made a wager. First they asked, what's the color? They created between themselves that type of question. Vinata said, it's all white, from head to the tail, all. Kadru said, no, I will prove you wrong. It's not all white. The tail is all black. And that was her plot. She asked her snakish sons to wrap around the tail. So it is a storyline, a much detailed story. I can't say all that. It just goes on and on. But what happens that Vinata finds herself defeated. As a result of the curse given by her own son, she becomes a slave to Kadru and her lots of snakish sons for a long time. But during that time, Garuda was born through the other egg. Now that egg had matured, and Garuda was full of effulgence beyond imagination. And Garuda now becomes aware of the problem of the mother. And a resolution is done by Garuda, and end result is Garuda becomes the vehicle for Lord Vishnu. Aruna becomes the vehicle for the sun god. Out of countless snakes, many were burned to ashes. But some of them are most powerful snakes. Vasuki Nag, Sheshanag that holds the whole world, all that relate to Kundalini powers. So that's what mantra reminded Kaikeyi, that how Kadru put Vinata into trouble. And similarly, Kaushalya is going to put you into trouble. It takes such a long time to convince a person. Kay kay suta sunat katubani, kahi na sakai kachu sahami sukhani. All this when Kaikeyi heard from mantra, she became so frightened as if she dried up. Couldn't speak. Tanapaseu kadali jimikapi. The body became filled with perspiration. Started shaking like a banana tree. Kubari dasa najib tabachapi. Beauty of literature. See Kaushalya, so shaken up. Mantra had another trouble, that she may not pass away. So put all her teeth over her tongue. That's the expression of suspense. कही कही कोटि कपट कहानी, धीरज धरहु प्रबोधि सिरानी. And softly Manthara brought her to little better condition by telling lots and lots of stories. In old time Ramayan is katha. Now at this stage, the Pandit who is telling this story will give you lots of stories, story after story, voluminous stories. As a result of listening to all those stories, suddenly a change occurred in the mind of Kaikeyi. And that trick played by Manthara became a kind of, in her mind, a kind of great blessing. If Manthara had not done it, she wouldn't have known what tragedy she was getting into. Baki hi sarai hi mani marali is just like to a kid who wants to know where is the swan, and someone points out to the duck. That's the swan. that type of change of mind. सुनु मंथरा बात फुरी तोरी, दाहिनी आंखी नित फरकई मोरी. He says, oh Manthara, you are right. My right eye has been vibrating for a long time. This is the woman. For women, the right eye is negative. Something negative is to happen. दिन प्रति देखूं रात को सपने, कहूं न तो ही मोह बस अपने. And every night I have been having a disturbing dream. And I have not been sharing that with you, O Mantra. काह करो सखी सूध सुभाऊ, दाहिन बाम न जानऊं काऊ. Oh friend, what can I do? My nature is so gentle. I don't know the difference between left and right. Straightforward. That's the nature of vichar. Vichar doesn't go through any. It's a plain mathematics. Behind this story, there is a subtle point. अपने चरण आज लगी अनभल काहू कीन, कहीं अगए कहीं बार मोहि, दैव दुसह दुख दीन. I have not done no harm to anyone so far, and yet, for what reason God has put me into this unbearable trouble? And we'll hold off for that. Om Triambakam Yamahe Sugandhim Pushti Vardhanam Urvarukum Bandhanan Mrityor Mukshiyamamritat. Om Sarve Bhavantu Sukhina Sarve Santu Niramaya Sarve Bhadrani Pashyantu Ma Kaschid Dukha Bhag Bhavet. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om Shri Ramayana Om Namah Shivaya.